Welcome to another episode of the PGTK Podcast, an interview podcast. My name is Emmanuel, and if you've seen AEW Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, and their numerous pay-per-view events, you've probably heard Sammy Guevarra's theme would take flight and later on Energy. My guest this week is the creative force behind it, the theme song king himself, Monteasy. We discussed that, along with collaborating with Music Soul Child, Mikey Ruckus, among other artists. We discuss his music outside of the wrestling world, and I do want to preface my apologies for naming Erica's Son, which was discussed on this episode, to Eric's Son. So Eric's Son and Erica's Son is the same album we're talking about, as well as having Swerve Strickland as a partner for the Swerve City podcast. Now, this interview was taken during our Extra Life live streams last year, and I cannot wait to really dig into this episode. All I require from you is to just follow this channel. And also, I have many guests lined up for the next few weeks, so just come follow this podcast to see who these guests are. And without further ado, here is our conversation with Monteasy. How are you, Monteasy?
Oh man, life is good, man. I'm feeling good, brother. I am getting back at it. Took some time off to clear my mind, and man, just getting back into the swing of things, man. As we get into the fall season here, I'm feeling really good. Just been doing my Teasy's Table platform, been doing Swerve City podcast with Swerve, and been a family man. I'm here with my family now, and just chilling, man. Life is good. Life is good for me, man.
Let's go back at the beginning. We're all musicians in some sense. We all listen to music to some capacity. What was your first exposure to music?
Honestly, my first exposure to music was through my family, actually, through my mom and my grandmother. Those two are the imprint behind my music DNA, basically. My grandmother would always have me listening to, a lot of old school music, from Marvin Gaye to the Gap Band, to you name it. You know what I mean? Teddy Pendergrass. She always had me on a lot of older music. My mom was very diverse with her music, so she would play Red Hot Chili Peppers in the house. She would play Dave Matthews Band. She would play hip hop. You know what I mean? So she would play Mary J. Blige. So a lot of my musical DNA is mixed with a lot of different things. You know what I mean? And as I got older, I dived more into the heavy metal and into the classic rock, into the Smashing Pumpkins and Metallica. As I got older, I kind of branched out into my own thing, and I'm very glad I've been well versed musically into my career and everything that I've done. I'm very, very glad I've been well versed, because it opens up your creativity as an artist as well. Being able to have a diverse ear. And I try not to be very how can I say this? Be very stagnant on one thing, with one musical tape. I'll get up this morning. I was playing an artist named Alexander O'Neal from the 80s. And then I put on Gangstar. Then I had on Metallica. So it just changes, it changes. So that's my musical recollection, man, from being very young. I remember listening to my mom playing Rakim, New Edition, Big Daddy Kane.
Wow.
My mom was very young into hip hop, so I got a lot of inspiration from my grandmother and my mother. But those two were the two people that gave me my musical tastes.
And especially with having these varied tastes, what's the one thing you notice when you do stick to that one genre? What was the one thing that you noticed? Hey, this is I'm not feeling it. What was the one thing that you noticed when you go into that one track? Let's say you focus on only rap and then nothing else. What was the one thing that you notice when that happens?
Well, I think that you're hindering yourself from creative perspective. I think there's different storytelling that could be in a rock song, that you could put a rapper and a rock group in the same room and say, okay, talk about drug addiction, and get two totally different sounds. You know what I mean? And perspectives. And I think that's the thing. You're kind of hindering yourself when you do that. So that's why I don't listen to one specific genre, because when you listen to other things, it kind of hinders, you know what I mean? It kind of opens up your mindset, you know what I mean, creatively and as a
Hmm.
fan, you know what I mean? And that's
Right.
why I don't believe in just being into one genre, you know. Especially as an artist, it helps you so much when you listen to different things, and it helps you creatively. You know, it helps you creatively a lot. So I thoroughly, appreciate that, and being able to have that kind of well versed spirit. You know.
And it changes too, like especially for my taste. Like I would change. Like I would play like EDM, and then like the next week I would play probably just indie, and then like the week after I might be blasting NWA just for the heck of it. And it's like it changes. It changes the pace a little bit, and like it sets the day, sets the week whenever that happens. Where if I do listen to like EDM all week, I mean, nothing wrong with it, but it's just like there are different artists, but like there is that craving of trying something new, and like and especially like with as artists, it's like you want to get a different perspective, because otherwise it's like it's the same old song and dance. It's the same old song and dance.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the thing that I learned, over time when as I've gotten older and you live
Mm,
life and you have different experiences, you realize how important that is, to be able to have that open mindset with what you're listening to. And I make an effort every morning that when I get up in the morning, I listen to only positive material, only positive
right.
things when I wake up in the morning. I have this thing that I do every morning where I try to creatively challenge my brain, as in listening. I listen to only positive things in the morning. I
Right.
I brush my teeth with my opposite hand to train my brain, and I give myself affirmations in the mirror every day. So that's how I live my life. Positive
Mm,
affirmations in the mirror. I brush my teeth with my opposite hand, my weak hand, and to
mm,
to to challenge my brain. You know what I mean? To do something
right.
new, and I listen to positive music. So that's all comes from music and understanding. The vibration. I'm a thorough believer that vibration is very important. And if you're
Mm.
listening to good positive vibration, it's gonna help you with your day. So I'm so glad I'm well versed on my music catalog.
Yeah, and it's like if it's just that one track, it's like all right. It's almost like a broken record, almost, where it's like one thing, one thing, one thing. So it's like it's kind of nice seeing that, and I'm gonna try that tonight. I'm gonna try that tomorrow and see if that works. If I do the opposite hand and just listening to, like, because I tend to listen to news, and that can be daunting, but like I'll definitely try that.
It's called positive affirmation. You put on a positive song. You look in the mirror. You look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I love you" 10 times, 10 times in a row. Looking dead
Okay.
dead in the
Okay.
mirror, you say, "I love you," because it builds confidence in yourself. You do that every morning. You put on a positive song. You look dead in the bathroom mirror. You say, "I love you" 10 times. Then you brush your teeth with your opposite hand to trigger your brain to
Huh.
learn something new. Yep.
And it sets the mood. No, I can see that too. Like it just sets the day ahead, and seeing things in a more serene light, because oftentimes you wake up, it's like, all right, let's get up here. It's like, and hearing that, it sets the tone up for what the day is ahead. And we're gonna go jump ahead. We're gonna jump gears. And having a career in music, what was the motivation early on in your career to say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life?
Great question. I believe that, honestly, as it's all I've ever really, really wanted to do outside
Mm,
of podcasting. Music has always been my talent.
mhm,
And it's something that I wasn't like born with. I had to work at it. But I wanted to express myself and do it so bad that when I realized that I had this talent, I had to push on to learn. But I also had
mm,
to learn the music business, which
mhm.
is one of the hardest things to learn in this world is the music business. But I realized that, hey, I don't gotta like everything about the music business, but if I want to succeed, I have to learn it. But music honestly has been my calling. Speaking
Mm,
has been my calling. Being a communicator has been my calling. whether it's podcasting, music, being able to be a communicator and through my voice connect with people has always been my strength. I've always felt
Mm,
like it's been a blessing for me. And I always just say, oh,
right.
why, you always used to question your gifts, when you're young. But as you get older, you start to realize how happy you are you stuck with it. And
Mm,
being able to say that I've been a musician for this long and to have success in it, you know, to see, it's a wild thing, and this is what I tell artists is, if you follow a Spotify account and you have 10,000 monthly listeners, you're in the top 3% of the world. And
wow.
it's crazy how that is. And, music has always been my calling. It's always been what has been come easiest to me. Being a 9 to 5 dude and clocking in every day just wasn't my thing.
Mm,
Now it's not easy, because you kind of got to be on survival. Money goes up and down. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you
right.
don't until you get it. But you you live on your own accord. You live
Mm,
on your own, being your own boss, creating when you want to create, put out music when you want to put out music. And, I would not trade this for anything in the world, man. Is it easy? No, but what is,
mm,
right? I'm pretty,
right.
you're a podcaster as I am. Starting a podcast isn't easy. Getting up and go to work every day, working a 10 to 6 shift isn't easy. Raising kids isn't easy.
Hmm.
Taking care of yourself and staying healthy isn't easy. Nothing's easy. Everything's a grind.
Right.
But music just happened to be the one thing that I've always was good at, and I just took it seriously and made it to what it is today.
What were some lessons that you came across as you're starting to get in the groove of learning in the music industry? What were some lessons that, you, whether it's whether it's hard or easy, what were some things that came across when you were starting to actually taking your music career to the next level?
So I'll start with the negative first, then the positive. So the
Okay,
negative thing,
fine.
the negative thing that I learned about this is that it's cool just to keep certain things business, and everybody ain't got to be your brother, your friend. You ain't got to be super trusted of everybody. There's nothing wrong with good
Mm,
working relationships, and nobody in the industry really owes you anything. You know, it's
hmm.
all on what you know. And you could cry over spilled milk about the industry, about things are this way, why this person made it and you didn't, and all this stuff, man. But you just have to figure out your lane. And I
Hmm.
think that's the most important thing, and just the thing that the learning lessons that I've honestly learned, man, is really learning how to have good business relationships with people. And it doesn't have to go any further than that. If it builds to something
Hmm.
more, cool. But you don't have to see everybody as super trusting. You know what I mean? And that's okay.
Hmm.
It's just life. But that's I want to know if that's not negative, but it's just something where it can be if you're too trusting of everybody. The
Mm,
positives. Now the good stuff, it's no better experience than hearing, when we were just off camera, just telling me how you were streaming one of my songs. Whenever I
mm,
hear that, it makes me feel good because somebody has to take time out of the day to do that.
mm,
You have to somebody makes a conscious choice to say, "Hey, I'm gonna stream Monteasy's music today." And
hmm.
you're your own person. You got your own time, energy, and there's 7 billion rappers and artists out here doing this. So for you to take
Right.
3.5 minutes of your time, 4 minutes of your time on that record to stream that as many times as you did just to support means a lot. And I tell artists all the time, don't take that for granted. If you have one loyal fan, please appreciate that, because they don't have to do that. And there's many artists out here they can rather listen to instead of taking, that 5 minutes to just listen to your music and repeat it a couple times because they feel it. So that's the positive
Mm,
is the reaction from the fans. Doing shows and the fans interacting with you, putting out a new song and seeing the reaction. Being able to work with other artists that might be better at you at something and learn from them. Um,
mm,
all those things, the positives really outweigh the negatives in this. You just have to know what you're doing. And I believe that, that's why I've been able to maintain, and my 10-year anniversary in wrestling's coming up because I've been able to understand how to move and understand how to be a recording artist in my space and know how to,
mm,
you know, make my music. So it's a phenomenal thing. So that's the positives and negatives of the music industry.
It's interesting is we'll talk about your podcast Wordsworth City. There was an episode with Eddie Kingston, and there was a story that you mentioned. There was a wrestler that approached you, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? I actually like your music." You started to follow each other, and you mentioned where everything is an algorithm, like it's just numbers and statistics, but having the human element of saying, "Hey, good job." That's like the most like liberating feeling that you had, and it's like, and we talked about it in the pre-show where like Black Boy, we'll talk about Eric's Son later on, but like Black Boy kind of hit me a little bit hard. I had to listen to the lyrics carefully, and just like the beat's great, don't get me wrong, but like the lyrics kind of really took me back, especially with how the song is being presented. That surprised me, and it's like when I heard that and I gave that reaction, that was like the natural, like that was like the human element of music. It's like when someone says that to you, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that in a good way. So, and so like when you talked about collaboration, when we talked about Music Soul Child, talk about Rich Lotta, and what was that like? Because I know you've listened to them before, Music Soul Child especially, and when you collaborated with, whether it's, with those collaborators, what was that feeling like from a consumer to now working with them?
It's great, man. Great question. I haven't been asked this before. You really did your homework, brother. Great work.
Thank you. High praise.
Man, I have to really be thankful and blessed for the opportunities that I've had, because Music Soul Child, I remember being 13, 14 years old, and I bought his album Soul Star when I was young, and I played that album till it did not work no more. And for this man to be one of my musical heroes, to say that I have music with him, I have unreleased music with him. We're working on a project together, and to say that I have a song with him, I have two songs with him, one with me, him, and Swerve, and then one with me and him. To say that I have those records means absolutely the world to me. That I've been able to work with one of my childhood heroes in life. This man's music changed my life. I went through so many ebb and flows with this man as a musician. You know what I mean? And my life trajectory through his songs as he put out his discography. And he's one of the greatest of all time. And to say that I have music with him, I'll tell you a story I never told anybody before. I've never told this story before. You'll get the exclusive.
So let me get my seat.
In 2000, and I graduated high school in 2006. So I'm 35. So in 2007, I'm working at a grocery store. And it's my very first job I ever had. So I'm stocking shelves. And my manager at the time has a song with Rich Boy. So Rich Boy is really popular at that time. Throw Some D's just came out.
Yeah.
And that's, that is a very popular, one of the most popular rap singles to come out, especially during that time. And he kept telling me, man, I got a song with Rich Boy. And I'm like, man, that's dope, man. And I'm just longing for the day to be able to say, hopefully I get good enough one day to be able to make music with dude. Now, fast forward to 2023, I have a song with him. And it was easy to do, easy to make. And I was always a fan of his music because I bought his first album. I went to the store and bought it. And now to say that I have a song coming out with him really means a lot to me, because I'm now working with people that I've always respected and looked up to. I've always looked up to him for what he did in music, being from Alabama. Music Soul Child is one of the greatest R&B artists of all time. I've been able to work with guys like Sky Zoo, who's one of the most underrated rappers from New York or in the industry, period. One of the greatest songwriters as a hip hop artist, Sky Zoo. Mickey Fax. I mean, you name it. I've gotten chances to work with everybody, that has been very, very talented. And it means the world, man, especially the Music Soul Child one, man, being that man, damn near, I always tell him he raised me. Like, he raised me. Like, his music raised me because I was going through a lot of different things in life listening to this man's music. And to say that I did this and worked with him has been absolutely phenomenal. And I'm blessed, man. I'm truly blessed.
What were some quirks that you picked up when you collaborated with Music Soul Child that made me think, oh, this is from that song? Like, did you pick up any quirks as you made music with them during that time?
To be honest with you, watching his recording process, I realized I had work. I realized I had work to do. That man was so talented how he did it, how he recorded, his process, and the fact that he didn't write anything down. Some people don't. They don't write nothing down. I still write everything in my phone. Majority of my stuff. Maybe about every once in a while I'll do it off memory, but just to challenge myself. But man, I am telling you, that man is an absolute phenomenal. You know what I mean? And I can tell you, sitting there, me and Swerve are sitting there just staring at each other like, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Like, I can't believe this is, like, what? Like, we're watching them record and we're just looking at each other like, yeah, this is a whole new level of talent. We're watching them just on the computer, just tapping, recording, sitting down, recording, tapping on the computer, tapping.
Wow.
Doing this, singing, singing. Stop. No, I don't like that. Go back, do it again. I'm like, yo, and this is off memory. This is not writing nothing down. Absolutely phenomenal, man. And I just said, I got to step my game up. I got to get better. Absolute legend.
And that's like a push too. Like, that was like it you see the bar at that point, and it's like you're here, and then music is all the way up there, so you see the bar just go really high, and it's like everyone's a work in progress at the end of the day too. And it's like seeing, you mentioned it, when you will see someone who's better than you, but then you're like, oh, what can I do to improve myself to go to that bar? Yeah. It's fascinating, especially now. Like, everyone can create anything. It's just that when you see someone who has done it longer or who's done it in so many more ways than one, it's like, oh, like right now, it's like, oh my goodness, and I have all this setup with like researching everybody, and it's like, what can I do to make things better? And when I see someone who's like actually knows what they're doing, it's like, all right, let me just write notes real quick. Let's just write notes real quick.
Absolutely, and I'm actually going to see him again soon, and just to see the impact that man has made, on me, just from my time working with him and getting to know him, has been absolutely phenomenal, man. He's, he is on Erica's son too. He is on the project. I got a heater that me and him did. Oh my God, I got a heater. That's not the Pressure record that everybody's hearing right now. The one that's on this project is absolutely crazy. So, to be able to work with him and possibly do this EP with him, and to, collaborate the way I've been collaborating with so many people. The Music Soul Child experience is out of this world, man. Out of this world.
We're going to go to your stuff too. And I was listening to Eric's Son 1, and I was listening to it all since we had to reschedule. What was the writing process with that album? And you mentioned it was a more personal record that you've ever done in your career.
Yeah, actually, I got it on my computer looking at the track listing again right here as we're talking, because I'm kind of remembering where I was at. I got it on my Spotify right now on my computer, and I'm kind of remembering where I was at. You know what I mean? Where I was at while, writing these records. So, I'm 100% transparent in my interviews, and I like to be 100% real. So, I
Oh
was
yeah.
I was working a security job at the time, and I was working the front gate. So I would just work security, and I would just have people pass people through. Make sure they had clearance and pass them through.
Mm.
So this whole album was written in like a month, and
Wow.
I wrote all 10 songs in a month. All those songs. The very first songs that I wrote for the album was She Shut Down. I was
Mm.
going through a breakup at the time. And I recently was writing about my breakup. And if you listen to that song was about a breakup that I had
Yes.
and how I can never make her happy. Self-motivated, which is really just about, being self-motivated in life. Shout out to John LaQuasto on the intro, and the outro. You know what I mean? Glad to be black, which is something that I just tried to make something catchy and about being a black man in America. Being happy to be a black man, a black woman. Greatest ever. First time
Yeah.
I worked with Sky Zoo. Shout out to Josiah Williams, the Stone Cold Steve
Mm.
Austin of wrestling music, as I call him, and Mega Ran, my big bro. You know what I mean? I'm glad we was able to do
Mm.
that. Follow Me Many Miles was inspired from a Missy Elliott song.
Mm.
Um, a song with 702 called Stilo. She's featured and she says, check it out. Follow me many, many miles. So that's why that comes from.
Mhm.
Missy Elliott's one of my favorite artists of all time. And that song is just about following me on my creative journey. Respect as an artist, that's my braggadocious record. I feel like, hey man, as an artist, you got to respect me and what I do with my pen and my raps and Red Bike. Red Bike is a
Mm.
story. Red Bike's probably the most personal record besides Black Boy on there, and She Shut Down because Red Bike is a dedication to my great grandmother who passed away.
Mm.
My great grandmother taught me how to ride a bike. So the bike was red. So
Mm.
when I say all I wanted was a little red bike, that simply, I was just a young boy. That was simply about going outside, and my grandmother, after she would come home from work, my great grandmother would teach me how to ride a bike.
Mm.
So that is an ode to her. You know what I mean? And I got her necklace here, her ashes right here, my necklace my mom gave me. May she
Ah.
rest in peace. But I that song is basically a story about how she taught me how to ride a bike and how when I think
Mm.
about my childhood, I go back to think about that red bike, and then obviously Come Over, which is just a song for the ladies. Shout out to my man Dub, Chris Cage for the great hook, song for the ladies. And then obviously Days Go By, which featured Diani. Diani is Talib Kweli's daughter. Talib Kweli is one of the reasons.
Oh.
Yeah, yep, that's
Okay.
her.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Diani is Talib Kweli's daughter, and that is my favorite song on the album. Um, that was inspired by Lupe Fiasco's song. If you listen to his first album, Food and Liquor, the song "Real," the intro. My
Yes.
man said he wanted something real, real, real. That is the intro song on his album. So that's why I say on Days Go By, my mama says she wants something real. Like that and the days go by about how life goes by in life and how days can just kind of fly by as you're finding your
Mm.
purpose. And then obviously the most influential record that everybody refers to as Black Boy, which is obviously about
Yeah.
being a black person in America and the things that we go through in America as black folks. And I didn't really put a at the time I was with the WWE working with Swerve, so I didn't really put as much promotion behind that song as I could have because I didn't want it to
Mm.
kind of coincide with what I was doing and have it, you know what I mean? So um that is the most personal record I've probably ever made. And that song meant a lot. That was the last song I believe I wrote on this project.
Mm.
Black Boy, and it took the longest to write. Obviously, listening to the lyrics is very deep, so it took me a long time to figure out how I wanted to say it. So, you know, and everybody asked me in relation to why hasn't Erica Sun 2 come out? And which will hopefully next year you guys will get it. But because these albums are so personal, I gotta live life a little bit before I put these projects in. You know, Erica Sun 2 could have been out 2 years ago, but I wanted to really come from a personal aspect on these albums. You know, wrestling music, you can get a single every day. I could put out a wrestling song every week if I wanted to. But these projects, right, you know what I mean? These projects here, it takes a lot of time. I got to live a little bit of life. I got to have something to talk about. So, you know, and as far as Erica Sun, you're going to get 3 installments. There's going to be 3 Erica Sun projects. So the second one's going to come out probably next year, and then maybe like 2 years after, 3 years after, somewhere in there, I'll give you 3, and then I'll just put out other music in between that time, of course, to keep my fans satisfied. But and it has to live up. It's not going to be one, but it has to live up to that tradition of what one was. You know, so there'll be some bigger, you know, featured names on the second one, but the theme of Erica Sun music, which is basically what I call my diary music. It's my music from my diary. And that is what Erica Sun is. So thank you for listening to that project, man. I appreciate that. I don't get many questions about. I get all wrestling stuff. So when somebody asks me about Erica Sun, I know they're a fan because that means a lot to me.
No, and honestly, and I try to stay. I'm not gonna. We're gonna talk about the wrestling stuff later on down the line and like your other ventures. But when I listen to Eric Sun 1 during the week, and it's like it takes a while, and I'm a slow pickup person when I listen to records, and I think the third listen, I think that was like during the weekend, I started to get it, and it's especially Black Boy was. And I can see why it's a song of identity, and especially with what's going on. And this was released in 2020, so this was like in the pandemic, and everything started to stir up. And I'm glad I listened to it by just happenstance, because if it was promoted, it would have been like, all right, sweet, next song. But like listening to it in my own accord and hearing the lyrics and hearing especially the beginning speech, that one surprised me. And I was like, we're missing a lot of stuff. We're missing a lot of stuff of what's going on in our society, and listening to that and Glad to Be Black, where it is empowerment. It is pushing, Black is beautiful. And in hearing a lot of the tracks and honestly, that's why I wanted to talk about that more, because I heard your side of the story, and I'm like, okay, now when I listen to it tomorrow, I have background.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, brother. I still one day I'm going to shoot a video to Glad to Be Black. I'm still going to shoot like an official music video just to do it and get together some phenomenal Black folks and do that record, just because I had a lot of fun making that song. That was a lot of fun. I wanted to creatively push myself on Erica Sun 1. And 2, I've had to do the same thing. And I've definitely had to change some things up and, get more melodies and harmonies on this next project. So I understand, you know what I mean? Thank you. Go listening on your own accord. It wasn't forced for you to do that. You listened to it. You said, hey, let me just check this out. Because a lot of fans sometimes they get so entrapped with me doing the wrestling stuff that they kind of know who Monteasy is outside of that. So that's why I like to put out other stuff that I enjoy doing, like, the song coming out on the 26th with Rich Boy that's not wrestling related, so people can get an understanding of who I am outside of that, because for a long time I've been kind of pigeonholed into the same one lane, which is okay because people know you for that, but you're a person outside of that. And creatively, I'm glad that, Erica Sun 1 is now starting to get its burn. I'm getting a lot of hit-ups about it now because people's like, oh, man, I didn't know. Like, oh, man, this is a phenomenal project. And
that's me.
And thank you, brother. So it means the world to me that people go back and listen to Erica's on one like that. So it's a great thing. I'm very proud of that project. I just actually
Mm,
listened to it back for the first time for me, maybe like a couple of months ago, as I was starting to finish up too. And I was like, huh, I like the way that this turned out for these 10 songs. I'm glad I didn't make it a long 15, 18 track project. It's a good 10 songs. That's all it needed to be. And two is a little longer, not much longer, maybe a couple songs more, but
mm.
I'm very glad of what one meant. You know what I mean? I hope that when I drop two that, I can come back on here and talk about two as well.
Yeah. And yeah, look, I can't wait to hear it. And we're gonna talk about your recent release with the British Boy and with Real Rap. And what can you give us before release? What can you give us? What's like the hype? What's like the sizzle reel of that track?
Oh man. This song here is hype. It can be played in the strip clubs. It can be played in the car.
Okay.
It's very hype. Once you hear what Rich Boy's saying, you're like, oh, okay, I see why Teasy said that. It can be played in the car. It can be played in the strip clubs. It can be played for when the women are going out to have a good time, when the players are having a good time. It's very
Okay.
energetic, and it is something that I think it's going to do very well, especially um, with my fan base and people that are really interested in seeing what I can do. You know what I mean? I'm very inspired by music in the South, so you're gonna hear, you know what I mean? Like the Southern Teasy, you know what I mean? Southern Teasy in a way, you know what I mean? Kind of like that more gritty down south version of me. Very inspired by Ludacris, Jeezy, Scarface, Ti.
Ooh, all right.
Ti is one of my biggest inspirations. So I'm very inspired by Bone Thugs. Bone Thugs is like it for me. So
Right.
Rich Boy did his thing coming in, you know what I mean, with his part. And the best that I can give you, man, is be ready for a ride. This one you're gonna have to turn up loud. You can't. This is not a headphone song.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
not a headphones in the gym. Well, you can work out to it too. You can, but it's one of them songs where if you got the MacBook or the laptop, or if you got your speakers, you just gotta turn it up loud and just nod your head to it. That's what this is. So, and this is gonna be one of them ones. I'm excited for the 26th, man. I'm excited.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about wrestling. We're going to put all the music stuff to the side. We're going to talk about wrestling. And of course, every wrestling fan starts somewhere. What was your first exposure to the wrestling business?
So, my other grandmother's boyfriend, put me on to wrestling when I was 2 or 3 years old. So he used to watch it, and I got hooked, man. My mom, my family always bought me like wrestling buddies, and I used to wrestle wrestling buddies and wrestling man. My life has literally been wrestling my whole entire being. First pay per view I ended up watching was WrestleMania 8 in the Hoosier Dome, Indianapolis.
Wow.
WrestleMania 8. Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper, one of my favorite matches of all time. Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice. Macho Man versus Ric Flair, one of my favorite matches of all time. Tito Santana versus Shawn Michaels. Undertaker versus Jake the Snake, Jake the Snake is my favorite heel of all time. Absolutely phenomenal pay-per-view, WrestleMania 8. So it started there. My mom and grandma used to order the pay-per-views and put it on VHS. And for your kids out there, there's a videotape. You know what I mean? We had to put in a VCR. If you guys know what a VCR is, you feel me? So,
oh God.
so you know, it's been there my whole life. You know what I mean? I remember my birthday, June 23rd, 1996. I am 8 years old. Stone Cold Steve Austin just won the King of the Ring, and he said, Austin 316 said, I just whipped your ass on my birthday. And
Mm.
that becomes the biggest tagline, one of the biggest taglines in wrestling history. You know what I mean? Austin 316. I've been infatuated with wrestling my whole life. It's been
Mm.
all that I know. You know what I mean? I am as I get older, I'm more of the old school fan. Even though I'm in it every day and I'm involved in it, I do favor the old school more because their believability
Right.
was absolutely incredible. But I'm still a fan of this stuff today and what guys are doing, and I love it, man. This is all I know. You know what I mean?
Y-
Wrestling, rap, and podcasting are the three things that I know best. So I've been watching it my whole life. So man, I don't know where I'd be without it. I don't know where I'd be without it.
Yeah. And like, especially with your gift to music, how did you mesh that with your love of wrestling?
Well, I honestly, it was just always random, man. It was very random. One day I'm babysitting my son and I'm watching the WWE Network at the time, 2014, January 2014. I'll never forget the time. And they're doing a replay. And right when I woke up before my son came over, it was a replay of the 2013 Royal Rumble
Mm.
when The Rock fought CM Punk. So, at the time, the Shield came out and interrupted the match. And Roman Reigns is obviously in the group. So I randomly said, I'm going to write a song about him. I don't know where it came from.
Wow.
I don't
Okay.
know. I had no plan, no structure of this. I had no idea what I was doing. I said, I'm going to write a song about this guy. And I randomly
Mm.
did it. And that was viral before viral was viral and before algorithms was algorithms. It honestly, February 2014, February 28th, 2014, I put the song out and it went viral and it changed my entire life. You know, so me being smart, I'm saying, hey, let me just continue to do this. So I didn't go straight for the WWE after that. I went from the bottom up. I went from the lowest indies and the lowest, indies and put my name out there. At the time, CDs were still prevalent. Hey, I'll do a song for you for free. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I've made songs. I've made over 333 theme songs now in wrestling. Yep, in my
Wow.
career, 330. Yep, I've had the first hip hop song to play, wrestling song to play in the Caribbean. I've literally had wrestling cards around the world where wrestlers, maybe like 7 of my songs played from 7 different wrestlers on a wrestling card. Different wrestlers, 7
Wow.
songs by me. Yeah, I mean, I've hustled my way to this point, and
Right.
it's phenomenal to always. The feeling never gets old. It was like I did Roman Reigns yesterday. The feeling never gets old
Mm.
of hearing their music played when you come out, when a wrestler comes out. I never lose that feeling. I always feel like a kid again because I found my way to contribute to this business that I love so much.
Mm.
You know, I found a way to contribute. And to know that I'm still going strong. February of in 2 months will be 10 years, and I'm still
Mm.
here. I'm still relevant. I'm still around. Means the world to me. You know what I mean? And it's a great thing, man. It's a great feeling to be able to still be here after all this time. So wrestling's been my life, man.
And you've had collaborators, of course, much like in music, and and of course, the elephant in the room is Swerve Strickland. How did you guys meet up? Like when was that first encounter that budded into this really growing partnership?
Yeah, man. We met at an indie promotion in 2015. Um, I performed at an event called the Shamrock Cup for MCW. Shout out to Drolix and Dan McDevitt who put me
Mm.
on. I performed in the main event. Swerve was in that match, and at the time we just took a picture, and we didn't really, talk besides that. But I was always a fan of him. And my manager was sitting next to me at the time. We had a merch table, and I'm sitting next to my manager, And he said, that's going to be the guy that's going to change your life. And I didn't know why he said it, but he did. 2017, I booked him for an interview. I paid him for an interview. He came, we did the interview. And after the interview, he liked my interview process. So he asked me to do a podcast with him. And now, mind you, we didn't know each other very well. We didn't know each other very well. We didn't know each other like that. It was business. But he gave me an opportunity. He said, can you come up to Orlando? It's about an hour and a half from where I live. I said, sure. And 2017, we started on Beanbags, IG Live, me and him. And we started an episode called Swerve Talk, which is on High Spots Network. Shout out to High Spots. It's funny. That's funny how much things have changed. It was crazy. Shout out to High Spots. We did Swerve Talk, produced by Sammy Callahan. Then we ended up doing Swerve City podcast, and we're still rolling now. All these years later, we're still rolling, still cooking. All since 2017 to now, we're still here, releasing 2 episodes this week. Still around, still cooking.
Yeah, you guys have Afion. Afion tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for that episode. Because, I grew up in Wild 'N Out, and he was one of the cast members. I'm like, I will send the premiere. I will remind myself when that happens. And you've had numerous guests in the Swerve City podcast. Which guest fascinated you?
Everybody that I've spoken to that has either been in the seat on the WWE Network, on the couch. I will always say this. Roderick Strong was my favorite guest that we ever had. Because he opened up. I connected with him because of how he opened up, and his life story. And as a person, I connected with Roddy Strong the most. He was a phenomenal guest. And I didn't know him very well outside of doing the interview. This is back when Undisputed Era was together. And the way he opened up, to this day, he's been my favorite guest. Him, Pat McAfee. Music Soul Child, because of how he opened up. I'll give you 2 more from my top 5. Roddy, Music Soul Child, Pat McAfee, Charlotte Flair. That's 4. And to give you 1 more, out of everybody we've interviewed, Eddie Kingston. Anytime Eddie Kingston's on the podcast, anytime Kingston's on the podcast, I gotta put him in there. I feel disrespectful if I don't put him there. Eddie Kingston is
exactly.
Yeah,
it's like letting the machine.
Some of the greatest content we could ever have is with Eddie. Love Eddie Kingston.
His heart is on his sleeve. That's what's fascinating. I listened to both episodes. The one from a couple of years ago was probably the one that stuck the most, because his heart is right there, and he will lay that bare, and he admits it. Especially as I listen to, and shout out to the Omni variant, just to riff everybody off, just to I was trying to not laugh, and it's and Eddie tries to lighten things up, but at the same time, when he's serious, he would bear that, not a full stop, just because he's been through a lot. And I actually read the Players Tribune after the episode, and it's he laid everything bare. He's human, but he loves wrestling, and he loves at what he does. And he mentioned it in the episode where he can make money, but he likes wrestling more. So it's just hearing that episode. I listened to it so many times, and it's there's a way of you guys introducing the questions and then letting the machine run its course. And it's fast. In every episode, it's like that. So it's kind of nice hearing a lot of the guests that are on and seeing where the podcast is going. And we're going to hit the actual music parts. And I do want to give you flowers for going in at AEW Grand Slam a few weeks ago. And we're going to talk about Sammy's theme, both of them. How did AEW approach you on doing Sammy Guevara with his entrance music?
Sammy hit me up personally.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't an AEW thing. Sammy hit me up personally. He knew who I was, and he trusted me with the music. And honestly, he gave me kind of like a vision on what he wanted the song to sound like. So I said that I needed it to sound futuristic but poppy and catchy. So that's where the instrumental idea came from. And people don't notice, but Cody Rhodes was the one that co-signed it.
Oh,
Cody Rhodes was the one that said it's a hit because Sammy was kind of unsure. He's like, oh, what do you think? He sent it to Cody, and Cody co-signed it. Cody said, this is an absolute hit. And Cody Rhodes, if it wasn't for Cody, I don't know if the song would have been played. Like, because Sammy was kind of unsure, but Cody Rhodes told him the song's a hit. And that song is the first was played in the first televised match in AEW history. Because remember, when AEW started their very first show, Cody versus Sammy was the first match. And Cody came out first, and Sammy came out second. And that was one of the first two songs played in AEW company history, and I got one of them. And
wow.
I could not be more blessed, man, with my life. I'm telling you, dude, it is, man, it's phenomenal. So to hear that song played, you Sammy Guevara, like I never lose sight of it, never. And then when the performance happened, Sammy hit me up and he said, "Hey, man, you want to do the song live in New York?" I said, "Well, I'm from New York. This is This is my hometown, where I'm from. What am I gonna say? No, yeah, I'm there."
Exactly.
So, that experience was phenomenal. To do that was, people would really wish they could have that opportunity. And the fact that I'm one of the few that happen to have that opportunity, cable television, 10K in the crowd, TZ 10K as they call me now.
Okay.
TZ 10K, man, it is absolutely phenomenal. And thank you to Sammy. Thank you to Tony Khan. When I was walking backstage, Tony Khan said, "Great work, man, great work." And, to hear Kenny Omega on backstage and Kenny Omega singing a song, and Chris Jericho looks at me, he said, "You got one, brother." And just, it's absolutely phenomenal, man, to get all the co-signs. Shout out to the Young Bucks who showed me love. Aubrey Edwards, Eddie Kingston, Taya Valkyrie. I can name everybody. There was so many people that showed me love. Sting, you name it. So it means the world to me, and that song absolutely changed my life. That Sammy Guevara record did.
Yeah, and it just that one song sets your trajectory for basically the rest of the career. And
Yes.
Of course, we're going to talk about the other track too with Energy. What was the approach of that? Because Take Flight is very poppy. Energy is a bit more, I wouldn't say so, a bit more subdued to Take Flight. What was the approach on Energy on Sammy's second theme?
Sammy wanted something more hardcore and aggressive, and he wanted something that was more edgy towards who he was, and I'm a big fan of rock and rap. Run DMC, Rage Against the Machine, Run DMC, Aerosmith, Walk This Way, Rage Against the Machine, rock groups that have Limp Bizkit, rock groups that got like a rapper at the head of it. So that's kind of the bag that I tapped into. That's what he wanted. So that song is just basically, I tried to make it the opposite. You know what I mean? More motivating, more hardcore for the fans that like that hardcore, edgy music, So that was my motivation behind that. And it honestly has become like one of my more underrated records that I've made. because I didn't make it to be Take Flight. I didn't want it to sound like Take Flight. This is an alternative. If you're into this kind of music, Take Flight's Take Flight. It's going to be what it is. But Energy is something else that I am really, really happy about because it taught me, you know what I mean, like to live in the moment and not try to chase a sound again. You know,
Right.
because you got one hit, everybody tries to chase that same sound. Nah, do something else, do something different. I'm never afraid to switch it up. So that was the, you know what I mean, the cursor behind that. And the video was a lot of fun to shoot. Shout out to him, shout out to his lovely wife, especially with his baby coming. And it was a lot of fun. So I'm blessed to be able to do that. Both of them, both themes.
I want to ask your opinion on this one too. When Sammy Guevarra and MJF had their team up and Dig Deep and Take Flight had that mashup, what was your thoughts about that? I'm kind of curious on your side of the pond when that got released.
Shout out to Mikey Ruckus. I thought it was very creative. At the time, I was going through some health concerns, so I had to re-record my vocals at my house. So when you hear that mashup, that's not the original vocals from the original song. I had to re-record it. And it was hell trying to re-record it to get that same feeling again. Because I'm a person where I don't like to re-record certain songs, because if it doesn't have that same feeling, like if I write a song 2 weeks from now and I'm kind of going through something, I record it then instead of trying to hold on to it when I'm in a different place and then record it 3 weeks later. I like to just do it when I'm in that mood because it'll come out the way I feel like it naturally is supposed to. It's more of a spiritual thing. So trying to re-record it right here, I re-record it right here where I'm sitting, right here in front of you.
Wow. Okay, it's a lot of
And holding the phone in front of me, and I'm like, this is my moment. And I'm like, yo, I do not sound like I did when I originally recorded it. So I passed it to my man Rich Latta, who is my producer. Shout out to him. I'm gonna give him a shout out. He made Marina Shafir's theme, and he's also the producer on Who We Are projects, my brother, and for me and Swerve. And he you know, he's like, I got something, man, I could do this. So he mixed it, and then he sent it to Mikey, and Mikey mixed it together. So when I heard it, I was like, huh, that's interesting. I had an interest, and I was like, huh. Then it kind of caught on. I liked it a lot, but I had to listen to it a few times. But they did it.
Wow.
They made it happen. So a lot of people talk about that mashup. So that's dope. That was cool.
No, and it's like I was listening to it for the first time when they had the tag team entrance, and it's like it blew my mind. It blew my mind, and like everything syncs, everything matches. Dig Deep had such good harmony with your lyrics, and I'm like, okay, they got something here. They got. It kind of sucks that the tag team kind of got short-lived, and I would love to hear more of that. But if we see another Four Pillars storyline, I would love to hear that again. So
absolutely, maybe I'll see what they can mash up with another song. Like put that song with Darby's or damn, I don't know. Just I want to hear another mashup to see how it would sound. That was a unique idea, though. Definitely unique.
And it paid out in droves. So, all right, we're gonna take it around home, and I want to end it with this conversation. I had this with my two other guests last week, and the WHO listed adolescents between the ages of 10 and 19. Around that time, a lot of things get picked up around that age as they grow up. If you could see Monteasy at age 18, who is at the cusp of adulthood but can still pick things up, what would you give him as advice?
Phenomenal question.
Thank you.
If I'm sitting in a room, if I'm me now and I see 18-year-old me, I don't know if 18-year-old me would listen to game when I got some good game, but I was also stubborn about certain things. But I think I could get through to him. I would tell him just be unapologetically yourself, continue the path that you're on, but no matter what distracts you in life, never stop what your purpose is and never stop working.
Mm,
And don't take everything personal. Understand that, be giving to people who deserve it, and always believe that there's always a light at the end of every tunnel.
right.
Um, always believe that there's a light at every tunnel. There's always another opportunity coming. And the main thing is to keep treating people well like you do, because karma has a meter to it. And if you're in the red with
Mm,
karma, it's going to mess you up. So if you're a man of your word, do it. Do good business. Do good by people, and life will always go your way as long as you're good to people, because that good energy comes back. You look
mm,
out, you give to somebody, don't expect anything back. Just do it just to do it because you wanted to give. Don't be afraid to teach people new things, you
mm,
know. And last but not least is to spend as much time with your family as you can, as much time with them as you can while you're here.
mm,
Spend as much time with them as you can, because once God calls them home, that's it. And you don't want any regrets.
mm, right.
Yeah.
And I want to end it on this story. And I was listening to the Emma episode on the Swerve City podcast. I was actually driving from Dallas to meet with family, and there was a bit on the episode where Swerve was talking like, "Hey," and it's like the antithesis of like active mode and hunting mode, and there was I actually tweeted it to you guys, and the line kind of stuck to me. And this is kind of like the crux of me emailing you for this interview: is just sit and let the universe work itself out. And oftentimes we're always active, we're always on hunter mode for any given time. Even if I'm working in an office job, active mode. All right, I need to get my paycheck tomorrow, I need to do this tomorrow. But when you guys mentioned, and you mentioned the example with Tracy Morgan, and I did listen to that Tracy Morgan interview as soon as the episode ended. Tracy Morgan said, like, if you ask God, he'll show you. He'll show you, but you have to be strong enough because it may not go your way. And that was kind of like the motivation. Hey, let me just give TZ a shot and send him an email. So I searched through everything, check through your socials, and I was like, I'll give it an email, I'll give it a shot. I didn't even know you would reply that quickly. I was like, whoa, what the heck? It's very quick. All right, I'll just give this a shot. It's like, and then we talked through, what the scheduling is, and fortunately you had to go through something, so we had to do it today instead of last week. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And you guys, you and Swerve have been killing it with the Swerve City podcast, and now you have your own projects with Real Rap and Eric's son too. And honestly, I just want to give you like the flowers, because you are and this is my second time I said someone said I said it, and you're like a one of a kind person that I've ever come across. And honestly, like I just want to say my complete gratitude for having to speak with you. And of course, the floor is yours. Where can we find you, and do you have anything upcoming in the future?
Yes. Before I go into my plugs, to further what you said, because I want to always end interviews with something motivational.
Mm,
Um, I want to tell everybody, to further his point, and as he said in the Emma episode, don't work yourself into oblivion. Be a hard worker, but also give time for your blessings to come. That's what I call sniper mode. It's hunter and sniper mode. You get in the hunting mode when you grind, 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 grind. You work overtime, and your hours of sleep be kind of messed up, and then you get to a point where you got to sit back and let it manifest, and just let things
mm,
come to you instead of you coming to it. I believe anything in a hustle is yin and yang. I believe yin is the hustle and the yang is sitting back and waiting for it to happen. Take time to let ideas come to you. Don't overforce yourself and, you know, hurt yourself to think that things are supposed to be this way or that way. If you got a great idea, hustle and just let the universe handle it. And like Tracy Morgan said, man, it takes years for some moves to be made. And that move that we might post on social media might happen in 2 days, or it might have taken 10 years for that to happen. But it's all about being positive and being a hunter, but learning how to be a sniper, learning how to enjoy your meal that you get. Don't work super hard to the point where you don't appreciate what's happening to you, but also work hard enough to where you're not content and then you put your foot off the gas. Life is balance. It's the most completely thing, like Bruce Lee said, life is like water. Be like water. Just be a flow. Just go with the ocean. One thing that I learned about life, about how being a hustler is being a surfer. A surfer does not attack the wave; they ride the wave. They follow the current of the ocean in the wave when they're surfing. When that big wave comes up, all the surfer is doing is riding the wave. They ride the wave. They don't try to do more than what the water. They don't try to, because they're going to fall if they try to do too much. So they just ride the wave. That's it. That's the way you got to hustle in this world, is just yin and yang. Be a sniper and a hunter at the same time. Where you can find me is at TZ Jones on everything and all platforms, at TZ Jones. Instagram, Twitter. My new podcast, TZ's Table. My first episode with Kiera Hogan is out right now. Go to tzstable.com to check out anything Monteasy for my music, podcasting. Contact me there for everything on my website to hit me up. Make sure I have a special guest coming. I'm going to announce soon as my next guest for TZ's Table, which you'll see very, very soon. Swerve City Podcast. We just released our episode of Matt Cordona, formerly known as Zach Ryder. Shout out to him. Shout out to the agent. And we have Afion Crockett coming up here. And we have many big guests. Oh, man, I wish I could say who we got coming next. Jesus Lord, it's going to get crazy. So, and for TZ's Table, same thing. It's going to be absolutely crazy on these two podcasts. What we're doing as a group and what I'm doing individually. Make sure you guys go to all streaming platforms for all things Monteasy's music, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or Deezer, Amazon, wherever you get all Monteasy music. Make sure you guys stream that. Make sure you stream my brother Swerve's music as well. Anthony King, everybody who's part of the team, Rich Lotta. Make sure you guys stream everything that we're doing musically. YouTube.com/at TZ's Table. Make sure you put the at before TZ's Table, or you're not going to be able to find the at symbol. YouTube.com/Swerve City Podcast as well. And, I want everybody to also to check out my brother's podcast right here. He has great questions. He's very informative. And, any guest that comes on here, man, make sure you support him and anything that he's doing. And I'll make sure I'll be promoting this as well, brother. What a great interview. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's high praise, high praise, high praise. And that is our conversation with Monteasy. This was an episode that I truly enjoyed, from recording to editing to publishing, because I really wanted to share how big Monteasy's career is in both the wrestling and music industries. With every project that he does, you can tell from this episode that you can tell that his heart is on every project that he supports. And of course, support Swerve City Podcast, support his music, support TZ's Table, and there's so many projects down the line for Monteasy, so please do follow him on socials, which is on the show notes on this episode. And on next week's episode, we have ourselves a world breaker. Now, who is this world breaker? Well, you'll have to find out what this episode is when it launches next week. And you can follow us on X, Instagram, Threads, and on Spotify at PGTK Pod. And if you have any comments, questions, or if you would like to be a guest, send us an email at pgtkpod@gmail.com. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Be awesome with each other, and I'll see you guys on the next one.